All right. So it appears we are live. So first of all, to everyone watching, welcome to the session. This is yet another edition of the Founders Series session that we have there. I do believe this should be the fifth or the sixth installment of this session, but nonetheless, today I do have Jack Porter, who I'm going to ask to introduce himself shortly. But to everyone else who Founder Series session is simply outside like a get together where we talk to some of our founders. We ask them exactly what it's like being in the space, and it's hosted by Hype, which is the largest sportech ecosystem. Again, to everyone tuning in for the first time, my name is Gomez, and I'm the director of partnerships here at Hype, and I'm joined by Jack Porter. Jack, short introduction on your end.
Yeah, Gomez, thanks again, and great to be a part of this. I'm Jack Porter, co-founder and head of partnerships of Clout. Super excited to talk fan engagement, to talk sponsor ROI, and everything in between.
Amazing. So I think Jack, we can I would say sort of go right in. Now, for everyone who doesn't know Cloud, or for those discovering it for the first time, what does the company do, and what problem are you guys solving?
Yeah, so Clout, we currently build agentic AI systems, fan
Mm,
engagement software, and custom digital infrastructure for sports organizations around the world. So three of our big focuses are on how can we create 365 fan engagement? How can
right.
we create more sponsor ROI for the teams all over the world? And how can we unlock new revenue opportunities? And this didn't really come to us, out of thin air. This was through many different interviews, many different conversations. What are the team's biggest challenges and how are they trying to fulfill the needs of their customers? So those are our focuses, and those problems have turned into solutions we're building today.
Amazing. And also the problem you guys are tackling is multifaceted there. So which only can only mean, let's say, it comes from some sort of I would say strong conviction or strong validation from the market. So from your vantage point, Jack, why do you believe fan engagement is still such an I would say under monetized opportunity for sports brands, teams, and creators?
Yeah, it's a great question, one that's taken a lot of thought and discussion from our team and in conversations with teams all over the world. But fans, they're constantly on their phones 24/7,
Right.
365 days looking for content, events, new ways to be engaged. But we believe it's under monetized because if you look at a team's schedule, whether it's American football or soccer or baseball, they're not playing 365 days a year, but they're still connecting with those fans from a social perspective every single day. But those
Right.
social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and everything in between, YouTube, they don't own those
Mhm.
platforms specific. They are
Mhm.
connecting with those fans, but the real challenge lies with how can they bring their fans from,
Mhm.
a social perspective, whether at home, watching the game or just interacting with content, either, to an event or to a championship that they have. How can they connect those there? And that's something we're really, really focused on is creating that 365 days of fan engagement. So there's ways to create monetization opportunities there. And we're really excited with diving into that with many different teams.
Amazing. You touched on a very important point, and I think this just reminded me of I had a conversation yesterday with one of the CMOs and the head of product of one of the teams in the Saudi Pro League, and I would say they couldn't really see what's broken or what's wrong with how they currently engage their fan engagement strategies, so to say. There's it's sort of
Yeah.
linear, sort of one way and the like. So I would say for them, and I would say for everyone watching, what would you say in a couple of points? What would you say is broken today about the way organizations think about fan engagement, loyalty, and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff? Because let's say there's a traditional way of thinking about it, which means I don't know, I'm gonna send my fans a shirt, or I'm gonna put a QR code there on the screen or something like that. And then let's say there's a clout way, if I may say so myself. So, what do you think is broken about currently the way they approach this space?
Yeah, it's changed over the years quite a bit. And
Mm.
from the team's perspective, I've had a conversation with some teams in American
Right.
football, and there's one side of it where someone is a season ticket holder, a season ticket
Mm,
holder for them that's already, incoming revenue for them. They're already locked in for a year, could be 5 years. That is what's like traditionalists is seeing as like fan loyalty. That's someone that's going to come to every single game or at least has
mm,
tickets to every single game. But there's a huge gap there that what about all the fans who are watching you guys on social? What about all the fans who
right.
come in and attend their first game, or all the fans who buy a piece of merch or interact with the sponsors, if that may be? So it's not just like there's five touch points. There's thousands of touch points out there that can actually turn a fan into a loyal fan. And a loyal fan is someone that can interact on social, go to the game, you name it. There's so many different touch points. And what we're
Right.
seeing, what we're trying to help solve, and what we're seeing in this new generation in Gen Z is that, 37% of their fans, don't even watch the live sporting event. They do watch social, they don't watch the live sporting event.
Yeah.
47% of the Gen Z fans that are still trying to figure stuff out, haven't been to a game. And then,
Mm,
55% don't have a team that they're a fan
mm,
of. Um, it's not just the season ticket holders, it's not just
yeah.
the single touch points. A friend of mine who's a huge fan of the Boston Bruins, he feels that, he's a loyal fan because he's actually on the text chain or in the newsletter where he's getting updates about upcoming trades or,
Right.
specific like bobblehead night, all those types of things. I think the biggest understanding we've had is that everyone wants to be part of a community, whether
Hmm.
they're a season ticket holder or not.
Hmm.
Everyone wants some sort of involvement. And if you can make that happen, you increase the amount of loyal fans you
Yeah.
have. So there's millions and millions of fans out there. There's just so many different touch points that are still untapped.
Yeah, I think, I really like how you touched on it because, the whole point of community, I'd say, let's say in the traditional sense, this is pre-social media and everything. The best way to get in this community and stuff was, to go to a Powerboy bar with your friends. You go and you watch a
Right.
match. You sort of feel like, I would say, you're part of something. But today, that is still prevalent. But in addition to that, just like you rightly mentioned, there are many touch points. And I think, Jack, my next question to you really is, of all the many touch points that you have, there's many ways you could, I would say tackle this, or you could choose to go about this. So why do you think specifically rewards, gamification, and community participation work so well with the modern fandom?
Yeah, another great question. I think we currently Clout also started on the B2C side, so actually
Mm,
building a fan
yeah,
engagement platform for fans. So we've been testing this out for a while now, and
yeah,
I think no matter where you go, whether you're on Clout or you're on United Airlines or you're on the Starbucks app, there's no better feeling than participating or doing a form of action and then
right.
finding out you get rewarded for it, finding out you get a free coffee or finding out you get a ticket upgrade. So I think that's one point. I think we're all, all over the world driven by incentivized ways to come back. That's
Mhm,
number one. Number
mhm,
two, for this upcoming, my generation, the generation that's coming up after it, and
yeah,
the one after that, there's all forms of gamification. You see companies like Chick-fil-A build
mhm,
in games to win a free sandwich. You see if you're at a sporting event, they have all
mhm,
types of games to interact with. So rewards number one, I think is
yeah,
is a driving factor. Gamification, you can gamify everything in the world. I think it's very, with this huge AI push, it's very easy to do so, and everyone should be doing it.
yeah,
Um, and then, tying that back to a community, finding people in there with like-minded intentions or like-minded loyalty would help you become that new age modern fan. So I think rewards are so important. Otherwise, why would people show up besides the content and the entertainment factor?
mhm,
Gamification makes it a lot easier for you to go from, hey, I'm watching the game at home to now I'm in the stadium. And then that community aspect, there's no better feeling that as a community,
right.
winning a Super Bowl together or winning one game together. I think those are three major factors that, our companies focus on from the B2C side, and then from B2B and many constant interviews with teams or pitches with teams, we've seen that be the huge translating factor.
Great. And I think so far one of the things that we've I would say focused on in terms of cloud is the engagement aspect of it. But as let's say the next couple of questions are going to review, it's more than an engagement tool, so to say. So I think Jack, at what point did you realize that cloud could become more than an engagement tool and actually turn that into a revenue engine?
Yeah. So since we focus on, 365 days fan engagement
Right.
and sponsor ROI, I'll break those into two segments. For the fan engagement side, a fan is going to be spending money if they go to the game. If it's American
Yeah.
football, and they go to every game, that's 22 games, including preseason. They're going to be spending money there, but how else could you be spending money and getting something out of it, out of those rest of the days out of the year? And in our B2C side, and compliments to our CEO Stu, who's been testing out so many different ways, building passes or building other loyalty factors on our B2C side has been a huge case for us to see that, fans, even if they're not attending a game or a game's not live that day, there is still ways to create, new monetization factors. So that's passes,
Mhm.
that's like unlocking new marketplaces, unlocking new games. We've also built in our B2C side boosts, helping someone get past
Yeah.
a threshold or a tier or a new challenge. So there's so many new touch points that you could do to really monetize a fan year round, rather than
Mhm.
just traditional ticket sales, merch. We've been very excited about what we've been developing there. And then on a
Right.
sponsor ROI side, the biggest thing is how can we make sure that the sponsor who is sponsoring the team make their job easy, and the person on the team side making their on the partnership success side making
Mhm.
their job easy and getting new contracts and new ways to monetize. And if you look at it at an application, mostly every team has an application. You can
Yeah.
put so many different ways to interact with the sponsors, and you could actually create, in a marketplace, you could create new spaces for the sponsors to be shown. And if
Right.
there's new places for the sponsors to be shown, that is new space. It's not just the billboards in the stadium. It's not the patches on the jersey. So you could be selling more advertising within your application, or any of the places that you own.
Mhm.
So we're very excited about, the fan engagement side and the loyalty programs we're building. And for sponsor ROI, either giving someone that's a current sponsor more space, or bringing in,
Mhm.
maybe new sponsors who don't have the budget of the Pepsis of the world or
Yeah.
the Lays of the world.
One of the things I like about cloud is that it touches the things in two dimensions. Firstly, is of course giving the fan, I would say, like I said, 365 days access, so to say, or something to look forward to throughout the year. And on the other hand, we have, I would say, like the sponsors and the rights holders and everything that is there. So it's really rare that a product really tackles both sides. Usually, it's one or the other, right? So I think what you guys did there in terms of that approach really worked well to your benefit. I would say, Jack, the next thing I have to ask is, tell us about why you formed Clout Engineering and what does it provide for its customers?
Yeah, so Clout, we started as B2C, we moved into B2B, into white
Yeah.
label fan engagement platforms. And, a constant theme that's came up is, what are we doing in AI, or what is a team doing in AI, and how can they automate their business? So cloud engineering is a technical infrastructure pillar that
Mhm.
can go into any team from anywhere from 30 to 90 days, and build a agentic AI operating system layer underneath that fan-facing product. So that would mean for any team that's out there, if they're trying to get agents, if they're trying to automate something in accounting or
Mhm.
HR, and they don't have the time or the bandwidth to do that, we can come in with a very sharp team
Mhm.
that's very custom built, and come in and find every single touch point, whether it's their newsletter, whether it's an event that they have coming up, and if they ask us, how can we
Right.
make this more automated? How can we put agents here? That is something we're doing with cloud engineering. Some people call it a consulting layer, but I look at it more as an operating system
Mhm.
that can help the teams really focus on, the big, financial pieces of their business. They
Mhm.
shouldn't be having to worry right now about should an agent live here, or how can we automate, back office. we can come in and do that so they can focus on, winning championships, winning their
Yeah.
upcoming games,
Yeah.
hosting different events.
Okay, that makes sense. And from a commercial perspective, where does the strongest ROI come from this type of from this kind of a model, you reckon?
Yeah, I think from a commercial perspective, it's really it's sponsor activation, and I've had this conversation multiple times in the past 3 weeks. It's, how much data can they provide? They can provide impressions, they can provide, people coming to the games, but from a commercial perspective, our strongest ROI is showing someone, hey, they came in and they liked your post,
Right. Yeah.
they subscribed to your YouTube channel. They subscribed to your newsletter. They commented. They reposted
Hmm.
something on X. So we're really focused on, all of those touch points in social and providing it on a much deeper level to the fans. If they're spending anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million a year to be a sponsor for the team or the stadium,
Hmm.
they need to get every single data point they can. And, that's a huge opportunity for us to come in and help a team there.
Hmm. Okay. And Jack, I would say so far we've really touched on the product aspect of the business, exactly what is Clout, how does it do, etc., and everything like that. I would like to also take it up a notch and perhaps just ask you from a personal perspective, right? Because of course, being a founder isn't easy. Most of the people here watching this definitely will relate. So I would say, Jack, question to you is what has been one of the hardest parts of building Clout so far as a founder?
Yeah. I mean, startup, everything's hard. Everything's
Yeah.
hard. You have to know that going in. I think before even saying what it's hard, you have to
Right.
be committed. You have to feel like it isn't work. You have to be excited every day.
Hmm.
But I think from my perspective in focusing on partnerships, it's really and hype. You guys have helped me so much. It's true storytelling, and balancing, you have a good product with, here's what we're trying to solve. And I
Yeah.
think the hardest part that I had to learn in the beginning is not telling a team or a brand or a league, these are their problems. It's figuring out what their problems are first and then
Hmm.
going towards that solution. That's the best way to do it. I think, but the hardest part is, not going in and assuming these are all their problems. I think
Hmm.
that's where you can get lost. Um, and for a startup ourselves too, I think it's proving, a track record.
Yeah.
But where we filter that in is with a team that's, so well versed in not just prompting in AI, but just deep AI background, building agents, building operating systems, building loops.
Hmm.
So it's I think that track record, but we counterbalance that with, with our team.
Right. And I would say, Jack, perhaps the last question that I'm going to ask you is, you and I have spent, I'd say considerable amount of time sitting down, refining the pitch, really seeing how exactly the go-to-market is going to be the like. I'd like to ask you, looking back from, I'd say all the discussions from our journey and from your personal journey, what is the one lesson from, I would say, the way so far that other founders building in sports should understand earlier than later?
Yeah. I think from I'll probably give you two if that's okay. I think,
Perfect.
from a pitching perspective,
Yeah.
it's understanding what's the problem, what's the solution, but not assuming. I think that's
Mm,
the biggest lesson. But from a
mm,
business perspective, I listen to the Moonshots podcast whenever they
mm,
come out. Peter Diamandis talks about finding a moat, and
mm.
you need to find a moat early.
Yeah.
Everyone nowadays can start an AI company and say they use AI and everything, and it's not AI is not really a differentiator, but what's your moat?
Hmm.
I think is a huge point. What are you doing that's different from everyone else? How does it, fill the needs of the customer? How
Hmm.
is it scalable? If you can find a real moat and you can find that early, that's great because, in this day and age, anyone can spin up a company in 24 hours, and be successful too. So
Hmm.
if you aren't different, if you aren't finding a real moat, it's really hard to succeed. But yeah, there's so many lessons that I've learned and been grateful to learn from other great people out there.
Amazing. Jack, thank you very much. I'm, say done with my sort of questions. Is there anything else that you'd like some of our founders to know that you maybe didn't touch on, or you pretty much feel you've touched on everything you did?
I think that's everything. If go check us out at cloutlabs.ai. Our co-founder Stu Porter helped build that early, and we're very excited about what we're building in fan engagement, in AI operating systems, and just every day waking up excited to work with great teams.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Jack. Everyone, this was Jack from Clout Labs. If you haven't checked them out already, please do. I'm pretty much sure you're going to love exactly what they do. On behalf of the Hype team, my name is Gomez again. Thank you very much for tuning into this Founder Series episode, and I'll catch you on the next one. Look out on our socials for when we're going to do that. All right. Jack,
Thanks,
thank you very
Gomez.
much today.
Thanks to
Bye.
the Hype team.